It's a G.I. jive, man alive. It starts with a bugle blowing reveille over your bed when you arrive. Hey, Jack, that's a G.I.
I was stationed at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland, and that was, I would say maybe about 20-25 miles north of Baltimore, right on Chesapeake Bay. I was a mathematician in radar research on something that I still can't tell you about. One day the doorbell rang. I answered. There was two men standing at my door, and they asked for me by my maiden and married name, which is unusual. And I said, "And who are you?" They said, "The FBI." And I said, "Have you got identification?" They said, "Yes, we have." And they pulled it out and showed it to me, you know. And I said, "Well, what can I do for you?" And they said, "Well, during World War II, before you left Aberdeen Proving Grounds, you took a vow of silence that you would never repeat the work you did." I said, "Yes, I did." And they said, "Would you take it again?" I said, "After all these years?" Well, they didn't think it was funny. Real stone-faced. "Well, would you take it again?" I says, "Well, of course I would." And he says, "Will you step out here on the porch and take it?" I says, "No, I won't." I says, "Will you step back?" I says, "And I'll lock the door." And I locked the storm door. I says, "I'll take it right here." And I raised my right hand and took it again. Boy, no way. How did I know who those guys were? I wasn't going to step out between two guys I didn't know who they were. And I took it again, and he handed me a paper, looked official, asked me if I'd sign it, and I signed it. But I read it pretty close. It looked like it was close enough to be, you know, official. I took a chance, I signed it.
Back in your trunk, fall on your bum, clunk. If you're PFC and you fail to salute
the work I was doing, which I can tell you about, was it was a anti-aircraft director. Very smart. I imagine it's probably way passe now, but it was very. Are you recording this? Well, I have to watch how much I can say. Anyhow, we used to go out into what we called the field. They had a big flatbedded truck that they carried it on, covered with tarps. It didn't look like anything was under there. We'd go out into a. I spent more time in cow fields. We'd go out into a cow field someplace and set up, and then we'd test this thing. It had to do with the Air Force, and the planes would come. And anyhow, we were out in the field there and set up and waiting for the planes to come. All of a sudden we hear these, what the heck is coming now? And a couple Jeeps come flying up and stopping, and out steps General Eisenhower. He had heard about it and he wanted to see it in operation. So he came over, and I asked the director that was there, I said, "How much can I tell him?" And he says, "As little as possible." So I tried to disguise different things, and I didn't tell him the truth either. And so then the plane flew over, and I put it in operation and everything. And he said, "Oh," he said, "No," he said, "That's something." And he got down and he thanked me, and so I got up and I went to get down. He reached up and held my hands and helped me down, and he leaned down and he kissed me on this cheek and he kissed me on that cheek, and he says, "Very well done, lady." I said, "Thank you, sir." I thought, don't you go any further. So I can say I was kissed by him on both cheeks. I got back to to the barracks, and I was telling Joe, and she says, "Did you wash your face yet?" I says, "No." She says, "Let me feel it." Oh. Aberdeen, the proving grounds, is they used to get different things from countries, you know, the enemies. They did all the testing and stuff on them, tore them all apart, see how they were made and stuff, you know. And we had 2 little Japanese tanks. Now, those people, I'm not kidding you, that tank I don't think was any longer than that. They're little, because they're little people though, too. And we used to go out there at night, and we'd wait till about 10 o'clock, and everybody was in bed, and everything was quiet. And we'd start those tanks up, and we'd have tank races with those 2 tanks, those little tanks. And we'd race each other until we heard the MPs coming. Boy, we'd turn those tanks off, and we'd run like crazy. Into bushes, up in trees, everything imaginable. Laughing our full head. We must have been nuts, you know? But oh, it was fun. It was really fun, those tank races. And they had big German tanks too. We got in them. We got in the big German tanks. We never started them up. They were big. They were enough to scare you, you know.
Make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh. Don't you know everyone wants to laugh? My dad said, be an actor, my son, but be a comical one. They'll be standing in line.
Every weekend we were free from 4 o'clock on Friday till 8 o'clock Monday morning. We went someplace every weekend. Very seldom did we ever spend a weekend on post, you know. And this one weekend we went to Washington. And we went to this little, one of these chicken places where you could buy chicken to take out, and they had a whole row of chairs along the wall with little things on them to sit, you could eat in there if you wanted to, you know, buy it and just walk over and sit down and eat it, you know. And we were sitting there eating chicken, and these 2 sailors came in. And they got chicken, and of course they seen 2 girls sitting over there by themselves, so you know where they sat. And we got to talking, you know, and he looked so familiar. I kept saying, "Did I ever meet you before?" And he said, "Nope, never met you before." Yeah, you look so familiar. You look just like somebody I know.
I've seen that face someplace before. No, you're a famous gangster.
And all of a sudden it dawned on me, and I says, "Are you who I think you are?" And he says, "Who do you think I am?" And I says, "Do you dance?" And he said, "Well, yeah, I know how to dance." He says, "You dance?" And I says, "Yeah, I can dance." I says, "Can you sing?" He says, "Yeah, I can sing, but I don't think I sing too good." And I said, "You still look like somebody I know." You know. And finally I said, "You know who you look like?" And this other guy says, "Hey, Gene, I think she's on to you." And I says, "Are you Gene Kelly?" And he says, "How'd you know?" I said, "Are you really?" And he took out his wallet and he showed me his IDs. It was him.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds...
We got to talking then about the difference between the Navy and the Army, you know. So we got done eating chicken. Of course, we walked out, and so everybody walked out, and we're talking, or you know, sightseeing. And in the conversation, he says, "What's it like on an Army post?" And old timid me, you know, afraid to open my mouth, I said, why don't you come for dinner Sunday and see? He says, okay, I'll do that. And I thought, oh yeah, sure, you know, that'll be the day, you know. And we didn't tell anybody that they were going to come for dinner. Of course, we thought, oh hell, they ain't going to show up, and then everybody's going to ha-ha soon. And so, boy, we lived on eggs. And all of a sudden, there was a call. Somebody was at the office for me. And boy, did I race down there, and there he stood in uniform. And so we never opened the. Three of us girls kept our mouths shut. We never said boo to anybody, you know. So we went to the mess hall. We were about halfway done eating, when all of a sudden, all through the hall, you could hear Gene Kelly, Gene Kelly, Gene Kelly, Gene Kelly, Gene Kelly. And he says, I think they found out who I am. I said, yep. I said, somebody must have told them. He said, I don't know who it could have been.
She's so refined. I think I'll kill myself.
After we got done eating, we went down to the social hall, and we put nickels in the Nickelodeon, and we all got a chance to dance with him. And the girls, they all lined up, and they all said, why don't we all put in a nickel? And we put in a nickel for charity. Yeah, that was something, no kidding. And so they said they'd come the next week. They'd come down the next weekend. He came by himself because his buddy couldn't get off. And so he says, we'll be here next weekend with the buddy. And in the meantime, they got shipped out. But he called me, and by the time I got down to the office to take the call, he had already hung up, but he had left a message. Sorry, leaving, I don't know how something about leaving the fairgrounds for outer space. Hope, take care. And that was it. And it was just signed to June.